Friends and learners on the interwebs. I'm Rachael Blaske.
And I'm Julie Ahern.
And today's topic is Season 4 Reflection. And we're going to go back and look at all of the best. And Julie and I, veterans of the board game industry, will chat with each other. Just us. One cup of coffee.
Just us chickens.
Just us chickens. And discuss this entire season and all the gems that came from it, all the while discussing your comments and questions in the live chat below, because you are invited.
And this episode is brought to you by Arcane Wonders, who would like you to know that Air, Land, and Sea, the 2-player strategy game, is in stock. Their latest reprint is color corrected for colorblind players, and all of their amazing games are available at your friendly local game store or wherever you buy games.
Excellent. So we've got some fun little news. Guess what, friends? It's Pride Month. Happy Pride Month, everyone.
Happy Pride Month. Yes. So news. I mean, that is news. It comes every year. Pretty exciting about it. That it does come every year, but let's talk about it really quick.
Yes.
So the past couple years have seen a pretty big shift in starting to accept Pride Month for commercial purposes. Now, that is great as a person who works in consumer goods. Cool. Awesome. If you're doing sales or focusing around supporting Pride Month, that is awesome. But also a reminder to be mindful of who you are selling to. This is great because you are opening your market to additional people, and that is amazing. And you're showing inclusivity, and that is amazing. But my question is, are you just changing your banner for the month type of thing? Mm-hmm. So what I have seen this year is a shift because the novelty of corporate Pride Month has worn off. The excitement of, yay, I can see something that represents me in Target is not so shiny and new anymore. It's now, what is the next step? And so you're speaking to an informed consumer when you are doing a sale. We are much more knowledgeable about that. So just as a consideration, if you are doing a Pride sale, are you donating to someplace? What are you using your platform for? And there are a lot of companies that are doing it well and using their platform, and not just for sales and not just for money, but also just using their platform. Cephala Fair Games is a good example of somebody who recently used their platform to promote awareness and inclusivity. Totally awesome. But just be smart about it. So some examples of what I personally do, because this is and here's the thing. There are so many different things. Some people are like, but there's so many different specialized group, and how do I get to everything? Okay, you can't do everything. Agreed. And some things are going to be more near and dear to your heart. So you do things in different ways. Sometimes it's to elevate somebody else who's doing something that is representative of a demographic or inclusivity that you don't personally have the ability to do, or you don't have the resources. Then you're promoting awareness. That's great. If you're informing yourself, that's great. If you're doing it in your games, that's great. For me, being bi and out, this is my time to shine, friends. This is something that I love. I love supporting various causes, and most of them specifically in Columbus, Ohio, partly because I have a very big gaming community that I support that support my company, not during Origins because they're at the parade, but the week leading up to it, I get a lot of good pre-sales. I really appreciate that, but I also get they're my home away from home a lot of times. So specifically, one example is my very subtle hair piece that, yes, I could have bought that at Target. I did not. I purchased it at Out of the Closet, which is a chain of thrift stores. You can find one, there's East Coast, West Coast, and there's a couple, but there's one in Columbus, Ohio. And 94 cents out of every dollar that they get in money goes towards support for AIDS testing, prescription drugs for, for AIDS patients, and housing while they are being hospitalized. So that is a big one for me. And also they have super cute clothes. They're very discerning about their selection of items for purchasing. And then they have things, so I also have super cute dresses from there, and I love shopping every time I go to Columbus. So that's something specific. And another one that I also like to support is Kaleidoscope, also Columbus-based, which is specifically geared more towards trans youth and support for trans youth. So those are the causes that I like to support. There's plenty. There's tons out there. If you want to support by raising awareness, if you want to support fiscally, if you are making sure that your game's greater representation, just make sure that you're not just changing your banner for the month.
Right. Okay. Do everything with intention.
Right.
Awesome. So we've got everybody reminding that you can click the little 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner. That way you can follow us. And then you can also click the little bell to be notified every time we go live. Also, we'll have the link to our YouTube account in the description box below, so you can subscribe and find our archived shows after streaming. Okay, Julie, it's the end of the season.
The end is nigh!
It's been so good, but to be honest, I'm ready for a little bit of a break.
Well, you have 4 kids that are now out of school, and I'm sure that's exciting.
I'm serious. They're probably going to pop in here and be like, Mom, I need more time on my computer. It's going to happen.
But before they can do that, we're going to share our a couple highlights from this past season. So I talk about my dad all the time, I know, but my dad's whole thing is anytime I was in a class that I thought was boring, or I had to go to a professional development as a teacher, and I complained about it in front of him, which I learned not to do as I got older because I would get the same. He'd be like, but did you find that gold nugget. There's one piece, there's one gem. You can find it. You know, if you just take away the one piece, then what did you get? Well, there were so many. It was
ridiculous.
Eureka! I found gold all over the place this season, but we had to pick the gems that we wanted as a takeaway to wrap up the season. So we're gonna do a takeaway from some of our guests. If you've forgotten everything else that you've watched, these are the things that we thought you should remember.
Absolutely. And Sarah came on the show to talk about manufacturing from Panda Game Manufacturers. One of the topics that we focused on was common mistakes that newcomers make, and some seasoned publishers also. She gave some great pointers about what to ask your manufacturing partner. Why can I not talk? My brain broke. Yes, whatever. Let's listen to Sarah.
Those mistakes are often just not knowing. You know, last week you guys were showing some things from toolkits, from Long Packs or Pandas toolkits. So not knowing about different card weights, you know, and yeah, exactly. Wanting to go way premium, wanting to submit a quote that has black core cards without really knowing
what a black core card does.
Yeah, the most premium, the most expensive, without knowing what a black core card does or what its purpose is, and knowing that they could get away with a blue core card. You know, still a premium card, still a great card experience, but saves them cost significantly. So, you know, that's one. Or submitting a quote that has a custom component when a standard component could do. You know, people who have been making their own prototypes, making their own custom piece to hold a dial together without realizing, hey, we have this rivet that costs a penny. You know, we can do this for you. We don't need to create a custom piece for you.
Oh, so true.
So partly you would say because they're just not educated on what is out there in the manufacturing world, but also would you say, especially for a new person, they get so attached to their concept of their idea that they're not
exactly
able to think laterally?
What are you laughing at? Oh my goodness. All right. Yes. Like, I mean, that was so good because so many people don't realize what's out there. And you want to know how often I clean my desk? I'm not even kidding. It's still here.
So our takeaway from manufacturing was, if you've forgotten everything else, ask to see what different types of products your manufacturer makes, not just focus in on the, I'm sure, extremely gorgeous boutique game that you handcrafted yourself at your kitchen table and now want to recreate mass market without thinking about what might be similar and cool but more cost effective.
Yes.
That was our number one takeaway from that episode. And yes, Rachel still has the Panda box.
I do. It's still sitting right here.
I mean, let's be honest though. Like, so mine is now buried because I put stuff in front of it, but all of my sample boxes are also always super close. And if you think they just sit there for decorative purposes,
I mean, really, like I
they do not. They get pulled out so I could be like, wait, what weight was that? Let me feel it again to see like if that's an acceptable for. This week, we back and forth the sample boxes for Lost Ones. Our first prototype got to Jeff and not to me. And now he's shipping it to me because I might have gotten a little pushy about that. But before he did, he gave a list and he was like, I think that the weight of the paper for the lore book, and yes, it's a lore book and it's an accessory and it's not the primary part of the game, but he's like, this paperweight feels really thin and I think we can splurge a little and upgrade it more because of this weight. What do you think about it being this weight? And I was like, well, send me it anyway, but let me pull out a sample and feel the difference in the weights you're talking. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Definitely
upgrade. So that was something that I could do, even not having it in my hands like I clearly wanted it.
Right. The spring in a card can really make the feel of what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. What else we got?
So, yeah, what else we got? We got next in our season, we had Allison, who's a project manager from Quartermaster Logistics, and she came onto the show to share her expertise. And one of the things that we talked about with her was asking specifically as a small publisher, what should you be looking for with your shipping partner? And this specific suggestion was one that I really liked.
I would want to know if customer service is included. So does the fulfillment center that your shipping partner that you're working with offer first line direct service to your customers? That can be really important, especially if you're in a totally different country, different time zone. I'm in California right now. So when I'm talking to people in like Germany or in the UK, our window is very small. Well, smaller than it was when I was in Florida anyway. So it's important to have, I think it's very valuable to have customer service in that region. They understand the postal system, they're closer like in a time zone. So the opportunity to communicate is easier.
But also the method of the delivery of the message, because just culturally knowing how somebody is complaining and knowing what that tone might mean in different countries can vary. And if something that you might think is being helpful or making a joke or, de-escalating a situation might be considered very offensive to somebody in a different country or vice versa. So having somebody who can also kind of navigate that is helpful as well.
That's super important.
Man, I agree. Allison was just so good, because that is definitely my low end of my knowledge pool. Like, I really love being able to defer to an expert that really can get in there and tell me what I need to know, because I don't need to know everything.
Right. But effective communication. So from Allison specifically being an effective communicator with somebody who, from all ends of I know what I want, I know how the ins and outs of logistics too. I'm new. Can you walk me through the steps? Is an effective communicator, but talking about making sure all of your partners have that can potentially provide that service with the direct end consumer is a great piece of something that you might not ask for, and is absolutely useful to know. Because if I have customers in Thailand, I may not be able to effectively communicate with them.
Right.
Or timely because of time differences. So having a partner that can do that is great if you can get somebody that can do that. On top of the fact that we're already spread so thin that it's hard to do. What are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about.
I mean, you are just all over it. Get it, girl. Sorry, it's just me that is totally out of my league. All right. Awesome. So like I'm just gonna go with it's the end of the season. I'm just everywhere. So I want to bring it back to Janelle. Janelle was on here. And she has had a full career working in distribution. I was just stunned by the fact that we had someone on the show that could actually reference what the distribution trends looked like after 9/11 and how they looked in comparison to pandemic trends and how they kind of mirrored them. It was just really cool. And her insight was just so good. So here is what to think about when you're planning retail releases.
You're looking at then the time frame of when it is coming out. Are there any other big releases that are also happening around that same time? Because that definitely impacts, if you're piggybacking onto a Magic release, hey, a lot of times, if you're right after a Magic release, sometimes that can be kind of detrimental because people just spent a lot of money on their Magic product. Right. And it's going to take a little bit for them to turn that, and then ready to restock other games. So
true. Don't go up against Magic. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Pay attention to the releases, people. Oh
Now,
my gosh.
So it's funny because some people say the same thing about Kickstarter, and I kind of disagree that like if you have more eyes on Kickstarter when there's a big release coming. There are more people that flock to Kickstarter. So doing a Kickstarter as the same time as another big Kickstarter can benefit you if you plan it with one actually with similar interests, because people might not often will not either or, they will both. Yes, and on Kickstarter. Retail is not the same, friends. It is absolutely a much better practice to not go against a big retail release.
Right. And you can usually find those just on websites because obviously they're publicizing their releases. So just go look it up.
Or you can talk to your local game store retailer.
That's
like
so
Rebecca, who was our next guest.
Excellent transition, Julie.
Thank you ever so much. So Rebecca had a direct line with customers and she shared her expertise so beautifully. I was so amped after that show.
So
I was
eloquent.
like a little rabbit on crack, honestly. I was so excited afterwards from listening to her ideas and her presentation of things. But she has to provide an experience to each and every person who walks through the door ready to buy games and make sure that they feel welcome and invited so that she as a retail store owner or manager can sell the games. And that was amazing.
And sometimes that's the puzzle, right? Sometimes that's what a customer engagement looks like. You have someone who is looking for an experience, they're looking for a need, and they're looking for you to solve a problem for them. And there can be a lot of different solutions to that problem. But also, I've been in stores before where I've walked in and I haven't fit their mold for customer, and I don't get the same treatment or service. And I think our store prides itself in a really big way on making sure that you don't have to look a particular way to love games.
Oh my God.
I know.
All right.
You good, Julie? You
I'm
good? I told you she was good. I'm so good.
It was an accurate description of how I felt. I wasn't lying.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I love it.
Loved that show. Had a great talk.
Seriously, that's one. Really go back and watch it. It's just you can just.
And what's interesting is it's an absolute. You have as a publisher, you're going to have a very different view on things than a retail store owner, and you're not always going to agree. I absolutely, as much as humanly possible, try to have conversations with the retail store owners I know to get that perspective, whether at the end of the day I agree with it or not, because I need to be aware of where the disconnects are in our industry and what I'm doing to help myself, help them. Why are there disconnects? Is there a way to come to a better solution as opposed to some sort of us versus them mentality when you're working in the same industry with the same end goal of getting games to customers and making money doing it? You have to keep having the conversations. So even when I don't agree with a retail store owner or anyone for that matter, I instead of being like, that makes me uncomfortable, I need to run away. I'm like, I don't agree with that. Tell me more.
Yes.
I need to know why.
Exactly.
I need to know why we disagree on this. So many reasons, so many levels of enjoying that interview.
That specific interview, yes. Mm-hmm. And then that next week, I think that was when I was on my own. But then after the next week, we had Maggie. And Maggie is from Greater Than Games. She helped us really bring home the season because she enveloped so many different pieces of the industry with B2B sales, consolidation, whether or not to do direct sales. We just asked her about what are the missed opportunities that publishers have. And she just had really great stuff to talk about.
Missed opportunities that I see are maybe not doing all of the research that you could to see where you're spending too much money or not investing your time wisely. So let's say you work with a consolidator and that consolidator doesn't deliver on distribution relationships the way that they ought to. You're still paying that person. Is that worth your time and effort to pay that person and then also have to manage those relationships? That's a missed opportunity if you don't do the research to find somebody who can accommodate your business, because that's the other thing is like not everybody operates the same. It's the same thing with it's the same thing with factories. Like people get used to using the same factory, people get comfortable with what they're doing, and sometimes like you should shop around.
It's so true.
I love shopping.
Shopping. I think that we get, again, just spread so thin that we don't have the time, or we don't take the time to do that cost benefit analysis and see if what we're doing is actually, you know, if it's worth changing, because it is going to help our bottom line, or if it's going to increase efficiency or whatever, but we just go on doing the same thing because it's what we do and we don't have time to do it.
So back when I was a teacher, we spent a lot of time doing a lot of not just testing, but teaching kids how to take a test, because that's what our society does now in education, which might be why I'm in board games now. But regardless, spend a lot of time working on writing tests, what makes a good test question, how do you analyze a test, and then also explain to the kids how to be savvy about that, because you could be extremely knowledgeable, but if you aren't knowledgeable about how testing works, you can still do a terrible job. And so you have to do both now in the education system. But what I found overwhelmingly I was like, here are your strategies. Cross out the things you don't think are correct. Read through if there are two right answers, which one is the more right answer? That is the correct answer. Like all of these little things, and you're going to get tired. You're going to not want to do these, and you're just going to be finished, but that's going to get you a lower test score. And sadly, that is a bad thing. Don't do it. And so there were, like every single time we had a test, there'd be a kid who 15 minutes in is like, done. And I'm like, no, you're not.
That's my kids.
I get it. You don't want to, you want to just get through and churn through and finish the thing and move on to the next thing. Take your time. Otherwise, you have to retake this test. You are not going to be done either way. And I was never wrong. It was so weird. And I feel like that's the mentality we get. We want to burn through the thing, get over the thing that we don't, and get to the next thing.
Enjoyable. Yeah, exactly.
And if you don't take your time and go through the thoroughness, then you're actually wasting more time, because that kid had to retake that test until they got a certain score.
Right.
Which is not what testing is supposed to be for. It's supposed to be understanding benchmark for knowledge. But nonetheless, that's how the system works. And that's what happened. Same thing here.
Exactly. And I mean, that even harkens back to when we had Lauren on the show, which I will never forget, the retrospectives and the other pieces that she was teaching us too. But that is not in this episode. That was last season.
That was last season.
Still good season. Guys, keep going back and we keep going and referring back to all of our episodes now. Like when we talk to people, like they say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" I'm like, "Oh, you want an hour on that? Here, go to YouTube," and we talked about it. It's really fun.
Well,
having
to paraphrase myself.
Yes.
But in truth, it is part of the reason why we started this in the first place, was so that we'd have a library, honestly, sometimes for myself, so that I don't have to redo the research before I get ready for something.
Right.
Because there's now a library to go to, which is nice.
Yes. And I like that even triggers this little idea or this memory in my head that I have things that I go back to right before I do something, and I will re-listen to something or rewatch something. And one of those things is like, I have a certain book that I will listen to before I go to a convention. And so we might have to talk about that in a little bit here.
Book club?
Yeah, well, book club and
conventions
before conventions. Okay. Anyways, let's focus on what's going on with you this week.
This week for me.
Yes.
All right. So, as we've talked about before, we went through the VAT process and have all of our new VAT numbers for both the UK and now not just Germany, but the greater Europe market. And we at Greenbrier Games have been getting a lot of hit or miss questions. So we are offering our services as consultants. So if you are interested, message me. I will say that out there, I can not just send you to the consultants that we used, but also prep you so that your time spent with them is asking the right questions and knowing the right steps to do. And that is something that we are going to do for the next couple months because I've gotten so many questions. And so I now am at the point where I need to schedule time. And if I'm scheduling time, I need to charge a fee, which will be considerably less than if you just go directly to the legal teams in the UK.
Hundreds of dollars, and yours is one.
Yes, $100 as opposed to the $250 plus that we were charged. So,
that's $100 you are going to spend.
If you're interested, please let me know. And I'm happy to, if you want to preemptively ask, like, give me a list of questions so that I can make sure that your time is spent most efficiently. I'm happy to do that. The other thing is D4. First, their inaugural convention is this upcoming weekend. It is part of the Comic-Con Museum group of conventions. They have added a tabletop gaming specific one, and this weekend is the first one. It is all virtual, so you can sign up and listen to a number of different panels, and it's specifically geared towards designers, publishers, developers, so not so much a consumer-based one. I was on 2 panels, and I will say I felt like I was outclassed with the lineup in each panel.
Now I want to watch.
Yeah, there are some they very much went after making sure that each panel had people who were very knowledgeable in their field, and that was awesome. And the moderators were quite good at preemptively knowing, like, communicating beforehand what questions, how to tailor it, what would be the best way to get information. So if you're at all interested, please go and watch it. There's a link so that you can see what the schedule is, and all of it will be on Twitch, I believe, or YouTube. I
think it's YouTube. Yeah. And that basically means it's going to be an ongoing library of material, right? They're not taking it down after a certain time. So that should be available, right?
Yes. Daniel is asking questions for consulting in the chat. Question 1, what is the meaning of life? Daniel, the last time somebody asked me that, it was in college, and I'm pretty sure I got them to not be Christian anymore, and I really feel like that's too much responsibility for me. So I'm good.
So we're just going to go with 42.
Yeah, 42. And then question 2, show me the meaning of being lonely.
43.
All by myself.
And that's where we're going now.
All right. Ridiculousness.
Awesome. I know. We're just really good with this week. Okay, so I have, let me see. This week I launched our team launched the Great Plains Gaming Festival. We have badges available for sale. If you want to come to Lincoln, Nebraska, because you know you do. I mean, you can have a badge, you could have a booth, you could have a sponsorship, you do you, but
you can have Rachel in person.
You can have Rachel in person, and our family plays games in person. And yes, lots of fun things. I'm excited. And we're submitting events right now. We're doing all of these different pieces, and
you are also looking for game donations, are you not?
I am. I'm just kind of pinging everybody quietly, but at the same time, if you guys want to send me a message, and I would love if you guys
could library
help with the library, some giveaways. We do lots of play-to-wins, and I would love to get your games out there so that my audience can see them and win them and play them over and over again. So last week I was running out of town to a beautiful hammock in South Dakota. And I had to cancel Let's Talk Tabletop on Clubhouse, and it was super sad, and I missed everybody. And so I just wanted to announce to everybody that it is back on. We're doing it again today. So at noon Central, Clubhouse, we will have a room in the Board Games Club, and we're gonna do our usual networking thing, like what you doing, what you did this last week, what you're gonna do next week, and I will hope to see you there.
So this was the end of the season, and we made the analogy that it was like the end of school. School's out for summer because school's out for summer, and that means that time-wise, it was going to be a pretty big challenge to try to just only take a few weeks off and then do another season. Moreover, people are starting to get ready to go back to conventions in person. So we're going to take a much longer hiatus. Not the entire summer.
Right.
But a much longer hiatus, and then we're only going to do a 4-episode season before conventions start up again.
Right.
So we're going to do a summer season.
Spectacular! Oh, yeah.
That'll start July 16th.
Is it?
July 16th?
Yeah, I'll make sure I'm there for that.
Cool. And the summer season spectacular will all be geared around getting ready to go back to conventions and seeing people in person.
Yes.
And what might you have forgotten and how might you deal with the stress of that and all those fun things before convention season starts. So we're going to do a short summer season because saying goodbye completely is just too hard before conventions start. We needed a little.
It's true.
Little something.
It's going to be hard to let go. So.
Also, I'm just loving this because we look like a cross between Men in Black and the Golden Girls right now. I'm super psyched about it.
I'm going to get made fun of for this by my children in 5, 4.
Okay, I can't anymore. I can't.
Awesome.
I can't.
Boom. All right.
So we'll see you. So we're gonna go now, but we'll see you July 16th. And that will be for a short season revolving around getting back to convention fighting weight, leveling back up so that you can be around other human beings and how to deal with that and what you may have forgotten over the time where you have not been in person.
This is right.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for this whole season and hanging out with us.
Yes, we really appreciate this. This has been an amazing journey and adventure.
Love this me Friday mornings.
This awesome session was sponsored this week by XYZ Game Labs. So once you're done here, go see what they're doing.
And as always, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest. All of the links are in the description box below.
Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your summer. I'm going to miss you.
You don't make me cry.
And remember, July 16th.
You're invited.